Okay, so we're out here, we're outside the apartment due to the fact that this is an ultra crappy camera slash phone. The resulting video product is not going to be as nice as I'd like, but hey, um, it is my birthday. Yay! I am all of 48 years old, and you know what? My theory on human aging is that we lament the whole process. Um, but even if the average human lifespan were 500 or 1,000 years, uh, we'd be getting up into our 900s and we'd be reminiscing about 500 years ago in the exact same way that you know, when we start to become aged and elderly, as I rapidly am becoming, in the same way that as we get older, we reminisce about our 20s and 30s, you know? Um, so I'm pushing 50 and you know, it feels good. I mean, I'm blessed to know enough about, I feel like I know enough about nutrition and uh, the ways of the world to, you know, maybe hopefully keep myself healthy as I go forward. As I mentioned in another video, I feel like I have fairly good genetic heritage when it comes to. Oh, hello, sir. A fairly good genetic heritage when it comes to longevity and you know, avoiding things like heart disease. And my mother's father actually had prostate cancer and had a radical prostatectomy in his 60s, and it rendered him incontinent. In fact, he had a urostomy and a colostomy because the radiation treatment was so thorough and so effective that it burned his colon to the point where they had to remove a section of it, I guess. And he showed me his colostomy. I mean, he persevered and lived for many years. I think that happened in his 60s, and he died at the age of 90 here about 12 or 15 years ago. So, I mean, I'm wanting to avoid prostate cancer as all men are. And anyway, let's not digress and divert too much from the major issue here. The major issue for me, one of the big sore spots in my existence is the fact that Monique and I had a daughter a little over 2 years ago, and she's in the custody um, of foster parents in Arizona because Monique made the mistake of trusting her mom with Liberty. And as good a Christian as Joan may be, I don't believe that she is doing Liberty any good deed by instigating this, uh, instigating these issues that involve Joan and assorted other family members from Monique's side of the family, accusing her and I of being unfit parents. And you know, I think about it a lot, obviously, and I am part of my motivation and rationale for making these videos is so that, you know, Liberty will have uh, something to look back on, to say, hey, my dad cared about me, and he didn't just totally give up and go off into the wild blue yonder and forget about me. Um, and I think that that's a great, amazing thing about, and it's, you know, one of the facets of this brave new world that we live in, this digital age that we are progressing into here at the early part of the 21st century, is that these videos will persist and live on, presumably for forever, or at least the forever that human beings have access to, which is not going to be forever, but it's going to be quite a while. Um, And so, Liberty, I love you. I love you. I love you. And you were gonna be, you were gonna be my greatest project, and you still are. Uh, but I guess somehow the reins for your upbringing have gotten handed to someone else, and we will just have to see what we can do. And I speak as the royal we because it's really just me. I mean, uh, Monique buys the brainwashing that she's receiving from her caseworker and from her, from, I guess, maybe from her side of the family, and the powers that be that tell her that she should disassociate herself from me because on paper, I am, you know, the fun-loving criminal that has a record a mile and a half long. But all petty crimes. It's not like I'm a freaking axe murderer. Um, and my objective was always to really get my shit together in light of the fact that I had a little daughter to think about. And so we'll see what we can do with this inheritance and with, we got some money coming our way. We still got Monique in our corner. And as deficient as she is as a mom, I cannot believe, I'm astounded and I'm appalled that the court in Arizona would declare her unfit after her having persevered and uh, lived in Arizona for most of 2016, uh, just so she could have twice weekly visits with little Libby, you know? And they're saying, well, she's this, she's that, she's the other thing, she's blah blah blah, resistant to the oversight and the suggestions that she's being given. Well, you know what? Screw that. She's not a drug user. She's not a fucking crack hoe. And for them to say that they're going to suspend now her visits, it's utterly, utterly appalling. The deck was obviously stacked against her based on the things that her mother said about her. And I am just, it takes a lot to try to maintain some slender reed of hope that at some point we can get Liberty back. And I miss her. I miss you. Should you ever see this, I miss you. You are going to be my mini me. The only real reservation that I had about having a kid at 46 or whatever it was that my father had me at the exact same age. And as I got into my teens, I saw how profoundly he was aging. He had hit the wall in a big way. He was a big smoker. And, his features were going all to hell. He got the turkey neck. And, when kids started asking if he was my grandfather, it was so disheartening to me to have to explain that no, he was my father, And so with Libby, I find myself in the same boat, and it's another one of my many reasons that I want to lead a healthy lifestyle that enables me to embrace this new paradigm, as I call it, of aging, where we are fit and healthy and good looking into our 50s and 60s and 70s, and it's not like we can suspend the aging process, but we know enough about nutrition as a species. We know enough to be able to live a long ass time if we choose to. If we put aside the fast food and go with the health food, It's not nutty anymore. When I was a kid, it was nutty to want to have a whole food vegan diet, and juicing and shit and all that. All this, I should say, all this kind of enthusiasm was seen as being crazy, and it's in some sectors it still is seen as being a little bit whacked to want to live a long time and be as healthy as we can and avoid doctor visits and avoid having to pay, end of life care as we succumb to cancer or a fucking quintuple bypass. Thank you very much, God, for giving me the kind of gray matter that can choose something different for my life. And I wish to God that I had, that Monique and I had some kind of say in how liberty is being raised, because we don't. I don't think we're entitled to shite when it comes to um, any kind of uh, record. Monique said she was gonna ask for some photographs, and I guess that's all we can hope for as we go forward. But um, money, which is so 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 important in our society, is going to become less of an issue because my dear old dad left me some land in San Francisco, which is now the hippest, most happening spot on this little planet that we live on. And we're gonna hopefully parlay that into a homestead of our own. And by that I mean the royal we and everybody that I choose to include. But more than anything, I wish that Monique and I had our little daughter with us, because I don't care what anybody says, we'd be great parents. As a team, we would be great parents. I think that with Liberty in the picture, I need her and she needs me, because I would be the teacher and she would be she knows the nuts and bolts of bringing up she's the responsible one and I am the creative one. And I think that's would be a beautiful environment for Liberty to come up. And so that's what we're working on. Mwah. Hello, 50.